We're going to talk about the Jags, and Doug Peterson, he's a maestro. He pulled off one of the best one-year turnarounds in NFL history. Remember, Jacksonville started 3-7 and then went on to win 6 of their last 7 games to win their division. Amal Shah, you're going to take it a step further. We're not talking division here. We're talking the AFC, and you do like the Jags to win their conference.
Well, I think they've got a great shot. You know, on the surface, you'd look at them potentially, Patrick, as maybe the 5th, 6th, or even 7th option in the AFC very quickly. Kansas City, the Chargers in the AFC North, Cincinnati, Buffalo in the AFC East. You look at the fact that Baltimore, not Buffalo, and then Buffalo, Miami, and even the Jets you can throw into that mix. But when you think about the division that they're in my opinion, arguably the weakest division in the National Football League with some of the other teams there, with the Tennessee Titans, with the Houston Texans. This is an opportunity in a division where you're looking at teams that have potentially a first or second year quarterback under center throughout the course of the season at various times. Houston drafted C.J. Stroud. It could be him or Davis Mills. You look at the Indianapolis Colts with Anthony Richardson. And then, of course, Tennessee does have Tannehill. But again, he has not been healthy throughout the course of the seasons, Patrick. So I think that gives them an opportunity to potentially look at going 6-0 in a division that's very weak. I think they've got a great opportunity. It would be a disappointment if you're Doug Peterson's team and you go 4-2 in a division where you're looking at potentially Trevor Lawrence being the most experienced starter.
Okay, well, let's start off by setting up these numbers here. The AFC, Amal, you mentioned in conference, so no surprise, the Chiefs are your favorite at plus 330. So let's see where the Jags fall in line. Looks like they're your 6th betting favorite. The Bills, no surprise, 5-1 to win the AFC. The Bengals are 5.5-1. The Ravens 11-1. You've got the Jets 11-1. My goodness. That is crazy. You know, by the way, that number is going to shrink. Something to look forward to. Now that we've just heard the Jets are going to be on Hard Knocks, there's going to be so much hype around them. That number is going to shrink down just a little bit, just to get that out there. Also, Amal, the Dolphins are tied with the Jets at 11-1. So you've got Baltimore, the Jets, and the Dolphins all tied at 11-1. And there's your Jags to win their conference at 12-1. It's interesting. You know, as far as the division, they're a minus 165 favorite at DraftKings. You do like them in division.
I do. I think they've got a great opportunity to win this division. You know, we saw the confidence that this team got from last year's come-from-behind win against the LA Chargers. They go into Kansas City, lose that game 27-20. I think they're going to be right there. You're going to see another level of improvement with Trevor Lawrence. You've got Travis Etienne back healthy. And remember, you're going to get Calvin Ridley, who was suspended by the NFL for gambling. He was with the Atlanta Falcons. He comes over. He's had 3 seasons of 800 yards or better. I like this team in terms of what they have on the perimeter. I think they're going to be extremely dangerous. You factor that in with Zay Jones as your third receiver, Christian Kirk right there. You know, I think Ridley and Kirk are interchangeable as to who the one is. And then they bring over Evan Ingram. And I don't know, Dustin, what your thoughts are on Evan Ingram, but he's going to be more of a pass receiving tight end here. And so I think that'll be a benefit along with adding Brandon Sheriff on the offensive line.
Yeah, the problem for you, big guy, when Ingram was a Giant, and those that don't know, Dustin Swedelson, a big-time Giants fan, he couldn't catch the football, and then all of a sudden he went to Jacksonville and caught everything thrown his way, so it was incredible.
Well, in fairness to Evan Ingram, I mean, there weren't too many other people succeeding offensively for the Giants during his time there. It was a pretty rough stretch from the back end of Eli to the beginning of DJ. But, I mean, Evan Ingram, he's not a blocker, but that doesn't matter in today's NFL. He is a mismatch with his speed offensively. And he's trying to get another contract. Keep that in mind. So I don't know if he's going to end up playing on that franchise tag, but let's say he doesn't get his new deal. You'll get a motivated Evan Ingram who's already a tough player to deal with in today's NFL over the middle. I freaking love this Jaguars offense. I think they can beat you a myriad of ways, and I love Doug Peterson in year 2, where the team made a huge jump with Philadelphia from year 1 to year 2 when he was there.
Don't disagree. Their win total set at 9.5. So by far and away, look, if you look at the other win totals in division, the Titans are 7.5. Amal talked about the weakness of this division. I mean, it's no surprise. The Colts are 6.5. You talk about the rookie starters. The Texans are 6.5. So the Jags, this is their division to win. If you just look at also the improvement in year 2, I have no clue, Amal, what your boy was doing in year 1 with Trevor Lawrence. It's almost malpractice what he did. I mean, he's 12-17 as far as touchdown to pick ratio. And then last year he goes 25-8 touchdowns to interception ratio. He brings back his entire receiving corps. We talked about Kirk. We talked about Zay Jones, Evan Ingram. again, it's a very talented team. The questions are up front, both sides of the ball. Urban Meyer was a disaster. We know it. Doug Peterson, kind of the adult in the room, came in, settled the team down. But you've got to get better play out of the offensive front and also the defensive front. There are questions for this Jags team.
There's no question about that. I think it's one area you have a concern when you look at, to me, you look at defensive line is an area they've got to drastically improve. And then cornerback on the defensive side of the ball, they've got to be better as well. And we'll see, they're bringing in Rayshawn Jenkins from the LA Chargers. Let's see if that helps them out a little bit here. This team's got to get better in the defensive side of the ball. They did draft Devin Lloyd to go with Trayvon Walker. I think they're solid at the linebacking core. Josh Allen's been a really good get for them out of Kentucky a few years ago. So this team's got some potential upside there, and you're absolutely right. There are some weaknesses. But, Patrick, the reason why I think they've got a shot when you look at everything taken into consideration, the division, where they're at, and then factor in their schedule. When you see their schedule, they play 9 home games. Fine, that's a little bit of an advantage, but, half the league plays 9 home games. But their 4 toughest games are either at a neutral site or at home. You get Kansas City at home, Buffalo in London in consecutive weeks, so a slight advantage there. They will be playing the Falcons the week before in London, being able to stay there, turning around, playing the Bills, which would be a home game for Buffalo. But in reality, for Jacksonville, it's basically you're not even on the road in that situation, so you don't have to go to Orchard Park. San Francisco at home, and then Cincinnati at home. And the reason why KC, Buffalo, and Cincinnati, where they're played, is so vitally important, they could be a potential tiebreaker, whether you're the 4 seed, the 3, the 2, or even the 1 seed. Probably not likely for them to be the 1, but if that were to come into play and you have those games at home, great opportunity to win that game. And the Jaguars, now if you have a home game in Duval in January, that's a huge edge with Trevor Lawrence throwing the football.
So the X factor as well, and it's well put, is Calvin Ridley. Mm-hmm. So I neglected to mention him because it's fascinating what he could add to this team. He's just 28, but remember, a young 28 because he sat out last year. Now, he's had injury problems. The last time he played a full year was 2020 with Atlanta. He had 90 catches for 1,374, a 15.3 average. He was awesome. He had 9 touchdowns as well for Atlanta in 2020. He was banged up in 21, and then he started betting. He called it an effed up period in his life. It was a dark moment. I made a stupid mistake. He's talking about the betting. Remember, he was suspended for all of last year, Calvin Ridley. He returns to the Jags. I love this spot for him. He's the type of dude, if you know his personality at all, he's going to relish the comeback.
I would agree with you. I think it's perfect, right? He gets to stay in his home state of Florida. This is an opportunity for a resurgence. He lost a lot of money. I think it was $9 million or $11 million in the season last year for being suspended. So a good opportunity for a bounce back with a tremendous quarterback and a team that's going to utilize him properly. And I'm telling you, Patrick, even if you don't believe the Jags can win the conference, 13-1 is a solid bet, or 12-1, excuse me, because now they're probably going to win their division. If they win their division, they're going to be one of the 4 seeds. They're hosting a home game. And if they win that, they've got an opportunity. You've got to hedge off on 2 plays. You're going to make a profit either way. I think Jacksonville's in a great position. Some of these bets sometimes in the future markets don't make them to necessarily win, but to make yourself a profit. There's great opportunities and great margins. And if they get off to a fast start, their schedule is not overly daunting when you look at it from the start of the season. I think this is a good opportunity for a team that opens with, yes, you have the Chiefs in week 2, but you're at Indy, the Chiefs, the Texans at home, the Falcons. So you could get off to a 3-1 start. And on the off chance they beat the Chiefs at home, you're 4-0. Those odds are going to shrink very quickly.
They're tied in division with the Kansas City Chiefs for your biggest favorite to win their particular division at -165. The Chiefs in the AFC West are -165. And just a little bit shorter here, the 49ers are -160 to win the West. And there's for every reason. Amal, you mentioned it with the Titans kind of influx, the Colts young, the Houston Texans young. This sets up perfectly 6 games in divisions for the Jags.
I think it's a great opportunity. And I'm telling you, when you got a team that's this low on the conference but this short on the division, it's a good bet.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.